Hey there. So in this video, we're going to talk about my data-driven way to fill out the Blue Ocean strategy canvas. So first, you might not have heard of the strategy canvas. So let's take a look at that and how it all works. If you head on over to blueoceanstrategy.com, they have a blog on exactly what the strategy canvas is. But basically, the gist of it is that with Blue Ocean, you want to find some different factors where your company has an opportunity to compete on. So rather than trying to compete on the same things, you want to find different stuff that makes you unique and that can set you apart, creating this blue ocean. If you haven't gone to go read that book yet, I definitely recommend it. It was one of the first ones that really got me on track for like reading a lot of business and marketing development books. Great book for sure. So the premise is that along the bottom here, you want to list out your competing factors. And then along the side, you want to see kind of what the offering level is from different companies. So whether they're good at it or they're high at it. And then you kind of plot along the graph the different spots, I guess, that your competitors have. And so I've always found this a little bit interesting because you're guessing at whether it's a high or a low ranking or anywhere in between, which doesn't make a lot of sense. When you're doing any kind of marketing with all of the data out there, just plain old guessing at it doesn't make sense. So I found a way using, in this case, Trustpilot, but it works with any type of review system to go and gather the reviews from Trustpilot, hear what people are actually saying about the company, and then do some analysis on that, and then put that into a graph to actually see where the different opportunities lie. So I haven't actually looked up these companies, scraped them all, but we'll go through it together. I'll show you my process for that. So we'll see what kind of results we actually end up getting. All right, so let's take a look at the different tools we're going to be using for this actual analysis. So I did mention Trustpilot. You can use any source of review system. Trustpilot's really easy to actually just scrape all of the reviews from. We'll show you how to do that. In fact, I use something called Web Scraper to scrape all these things. If you're collecting a lot of data, this is a great tool, but just, I guess, make sure that it complies with whatever the website terms are as well. And then, of course, for our analysis, we're going to use some Chat GPT. This is a fantastic extension that actually just allows you to do it right in Google Sheets so that you, I guess, don't have to go and copy and paste a whole bunch of things. We can just do it all in bulk. And then, of course, Google Sheets, you're all familiar with, but I will give you guys access to the template that I'm using so you can just plug and play everything super easily. All right, so first up, Trustpilot reviews. So we're going to go and find a couple of pet retail stores. And I like this category because lots of people love pets. So I will go and find some and I will be right back. All right, so normally what you would do is if you had a real company in mind, you'd actually want to use their competitors, maybe they're local in this case for them. Here, I'm just pulling up a few different ones that look like they're pet reviews. And I'm also choosing ones that don't have a whole ton, like over in the thousands of reviews, just because that'll take us a lot of time to go through. But obviously choosing who your actual competitors are that you're wanting to analyze, as well as if you have your own Trustpilot, would be the best way to go there. So we've pulled up a couple different options. Next, we're going to open up the web scraper tool. So I just hit F12 on my computer, which opens up this, I don't know what it's called, the handy console log bar that you use all the time. And then I've actually have in this site map area, I've created one specific for Trustpilot reviews. So we're just going to copy and paste the URL at the top there. And we are going to edit the metadata and we're going to put in our own URL in there. And then we can just start scraping because I have this tool all set up to go there. So we'll start scraping and I will pause this and we will be right back. Okay, so our web scraper is done. If we just hit refresh here, we can see that we have all of the reviews from people listed here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to export this data and then we'll just save it in a file and we'll bring it over to Google Sheets. All right, so once you have all of your reviews from your various stores loaded up here, you can use the Chat GPT extension here to basically tag and categorize the different types of reviews. So you do have to do a little bit of setup for your extension, adding in your own API key. But what you can do is just do the GPT tag that they have built in here, and you can find all of the, I guess, relevant tags that would be for each review. So let's take a moment, and there's our response. So these are the different things that were kind of talked about in this review. What we'll do is we'll copy and paste this for all of these. And then we will have a huge list of tags to work with, but you'll see what we're going to do with it in a second here. We'll just let that all load and we'll be right back. All right, so it does just take a couple minutes to get those couple hundred reviews all tagged. So if you copy and then copy all of them and then paste values only, that'll stop the formula from going back to Chat GPT because we don't want to keep making unnecessary API calls. And then we're just going to do the split text columns so that we can see each of these tags in a new column there. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to gather all of these tags over into a new list as well. Bear with me while I kind of do a little bit of copying and pasting and putting it all into this new list here. All right, so once we have all of our tags here, and we happen to be sorting it kind of alphabetically just to make this a little easier, we can go in and we can go data and data cleanup and remove all of these duplicates. So we can see we had a whole bunch of different tags, but we only have 700 now. So that 700 obviously still a little bit overwhelming, especially when some of these are going to be a lot of kind of duplicates and things that are like maybe not super relevant, like BMW i3. I went back, I looked at that comment. That guy happened to buy a BMW, but it's not going to be super relevant for when we are trying to advertise unless your target market happens to be BMW owners. So what we're going to do here is we are going to do a little count for it. So we're going to count if this guy over here is in our list of tags, and we're just going to see how many times that tag actually shows up. So I will figure that out and I will show you the formula in a sec. All right, so if you're not familiar, just this count if is we're going to go back to pet store 1 and see if anywhere in our range of tags that we have does this little doggy emoji shows up. So surprisingly, it's only once, but we're going to copy and paste that down the whole list here. And then we are going to sort by column B. All right, and then we're going to just see what our top performing tags are. So the Chat GPT tag does review it, whether that was a positive or a negative comment, which we'll get to in a second. But from there, we can see that the top factors mentioned in these reviews are customer service, quality, fast delivery, definitely recommend, delivery, satisfaction, furniture, product quality, those kinds of things. So you can kind of see in there that it's like a little bit of a repeat situation. So you can use your best judgment, remove the tags that are irrelevant, and then you'll have a list of more refined tags. So let's go ahead and do that really quick. All right, I went through, used my best judgment, and found kind of a list of top items that seems like a lot of people were talking about in their reviews and weren't a bunch of repeats. I also went and simplified these where necessary as well. So even if you were to just stop here and you wanted to use this information and write blog posts, create videos, create content on these different topics, you're already going to be miles ahead in terms of like data-backed customer research that you can do in probably the now 11 minutes that I've actually been recording this video. Super fast to do. So it's super awesome. We're going to take that to the next step. We're going to apply the same thing to Pet Store 2 and Pet Store 3 in just a second here. And then we're also going to do a review analysis on whether people spoke about their customer service positively or negatively, and then do an analysis and map that into our strategy graph. So bear with me here. I'll get some more stats and we'll keep moving forward. All right, so now that we have our list of top tags, I ended up adding a few more from the other two pet stores. What we're going to do now is we're going to get Chat GPT to analyze the reviews and see which of these top tags are actually in there. So it's kind of like a little bit more focused and looking for these specific tags. And then we're also going to note whether it's a positive review or a negative review so that we know whether they spoke about these things in a positive or negative light. So to do that, our first one is we're going to use that same GPT tag and we're going to look at this value here. But this time we're going to give it the list of tags to choose from, which is going to be right here. And then we are also going to ask it for just the top 3 tags. So it doesn't get out of hand. There's not too many different tags, and it will just look at those. And one more item we actually want to add in here is the temperature. So that's just like how creative Chat GPT is allowed to be. I always like to throw a 0 in there for 0 creativity because we want it to focus on just the tags that we've provided it and hopefully not create any new ideas out of this. All right, so once we have our 3 tags for each review that kind of fall in line with our top tags, what we're going to do is we're going to use GPT classify this time. This is just going to return either a kind of a yes or a no answer. And so in this case, we're going to use the value here and we're just going to go positive or negative. Or I also like to do mixed in there as well, just because sometimes people leave like some positive comments and some negative comments, although it's mostly one or the other, I find. So we're going to use that. We're going to see, okay, is this a positive or negative review? And again, we're going to do the same thing and copy and paste that for all of our reviews. All right, this is where it gets a little tricky in terms of kind of doing the formula here. So we have this count if S formula. So it's just going to analyze multiple criteria and give us a number of how many times that criteria happened. So in this case, this cell is looking at our pet store number 1, looking at whether the review was positive, negative, or mixed, and then telling us how many times the tag comfort showed up when it was positive. In this case, it was 37. How many times the comfort showed up in negative? That didn't happen. And then how many times comfort showed up and it was mixed? That happened 3 times. So this particular store doesn't have a ton of negative, like straight negative reviews. So the most of those are a 0, but this all comes into analysis here. So I'll fill out the rest of these for Pet Store 1, Pet Store 2, and Pet Store 3. And then we will tally the results all at the end. So I have this all totaled up here. What I did was I took a look at each of the tags, how many times comfort showed up for each situation, whether it was mentioned positively, negatively, or mixed. And then I added those all together. In the case of positive, I added that total score together and multiplied it by 2. With negatives, I added the total score together and multiplied it by -2. And then with the mixed, I didn't give it any kind of a multiplication factor. So then we go and we add up our total score together and we can see which areas end up ranking highly. So just looking at this casually, we can see that quality was really mentioned a lot for this store. Durability was mentioned a lot and customer service was mentioned a lot. Whereas this store didn't talk anything about CBD or anxiety, very little about natural ingredients or online shopping. All right, so I have all of our total scores moved over here into one chart for easy readability, I suppose. So we're going to pretend that like we are Pet Store 2. And so it looks like what Pet Store 2 has done a little bit, or at least they're setting themselves apart in a different way in the fact that they get really high rankings for grooming, natural ingredients, CBD, and anxiety is up there as well. We look at this graph, you can see that they are completely set apart in those different areas. Quality, everyone ranks pretty high in quality, and it's a little bit of a subjective matter, but like if somebody is saying, hey, it's how much more quality can we really get ranking really highly in this, it's probably not worth it for us to put a ton of effort in putting more quality into our products. Whereas working on anxiety metrics for dogs or pets in general, they could end up breaking themselves apart even more and focusing more of that in their content and setting themselves apart that way rather than competing on some of these other items that are very common. It also looks like nobody is ranked very highly here for online shopping. So if you are a new store coming into this market, looking for online shopping options, fast shipping, again, the highest is only about like a 250 range-ish out of the total reviews. So you would have some opportunities there in order to build out your brand and set yourself apart as a store. So hopefully this video was helpful. It gave you a way to give a data-backed option for creating that blue ocean strategy canvas and some clear ways to help set you and your company apart from all of your competitors. If you would like some help doing this for your own company, be sure to let me know, and I'm happy to do that kind of an assessment for you. I'm also more than happy to share all of the templates and resources and links if that's something that you're looking for as well.